Hi, Professor, and the rest of the Asian globalization class. So, for class, we had to pick a country to focus on, and my choice was Bangladesh. A good decision and a bad decision. Great decision considering I learned a lot about a country that I knew nothing about before. Got to examine a new culture and really analyze our similarities and our differences. Bad decision because the research for it is impeccable. But it's a task that I was up to. So, the three themes that we focused on are popular culture, media industries, and human rights. So, since the course is focused on Asian globalization and looking at the differences and similarities in our cultures, I figured it would be very interesting to just focus right on that popular culture and the media theme and seeing how exactly the media portrays or delivers their content to the people. Um, During the semester studying the Bengali people, I found a lot of similarities between them and the U.S. For instance, Bengali people are very creative through dance, movies, music, and they also run a democratic system similar to ours. And then, however, though, you'll find that we have a lot of differences, which is really what kind of makes it interesting. We often speak about media and how it relates to one another, and Bangladesh is a good mix between government owned media and private media. You'll find that in the US. Obviously, we have a lot more private media, a lot more self made content coming out there. There also exists a lot more criminal penalties for libel and defamation in Bangladesh that we may not necessarily have here in the US, where it's a lot more free. Um, in Bangladesh, I actually found that reporters can be held without trial for up to 90 days for basically saying the wild things that the government doesn't want them to say. But with me today, I have my friend Rubana, who is a Bengali, if I'm saying that correctly. I hope I am. And she's going to help me answer some questions and explore those themes. One of the things that I found in my research was about how traditionalist and kind of old school Bangladesh is, and how life here is very liberal. Liberal. So, what are some differences that you experience living in both?
I guess like the biggest one when I go over there would be the drinking. Um, Here you can pretty much like go down the street, go to a bar, do whatever you want. But drinking there, it's a little bit more complicated. You have to be signed up for. They're called like it's by town like clubs, but they're like country clubs. You have to either be registered or a member of a country club or a guest, or you have to go to a hotel or like the sketchy like underground stuff that's not really safe for women. So being a woman in Bangladesh, my only option to like go out would be going to like a country club, which I don't prefer to do.
Do you think like they portray things like that actually in the media? Like, do you see a lot of anything alcohol related in the TV over there, or
Not Bengali TV only because it's dominantly like a Muslim country, so they don't really show alcohol. And when it is, you'll probably see it in media associated with like India or America. So it's portrayed more as promiscuous because it is taboo because
so
it's
it's
illegal.
edgy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know what not to bring over there. So speaking and touching on our theme of popular culture, one of our assignments in the class was to find a celebrity from our country. So I found a guy who won an Oscar but as like an animator. But then I had trouble finding like any real like popular celebrity. So I know sometimes you mention that they're a little bit behind. Why do you think I have a? Do you think like your popular culture is on its way to bringing more people to like the mainstream, or are they just not trying to get there?
Honestly, it's a lot like Canada and America with the dynamic, or the United States. So with like Canadian pop culture, we don't really know about it. But when you go to Canada, they're more familiar with American pop culture, and that's what they really go towards. It's kind of like that in Bangladesh with India because it is like a smaller country and less populated. They turn to India for it, and financially, it's just better for them.
Makes sense. So, on page 2 of my questioning, you mentioned that there is a lot more U.S. influence there, and not necessarily as much Bengali influence here, do you feel like that's something that should definitely change in the culture? Do you feel like it's something that will change?
No, the country's too small. It's only been independent since 1971. So it's not. It's a new country. Like they have other things to focus on, and I don't think that bringing awareness of like pop culture is important now. Whereas like bringing awareness of like history and like the Revolutionary War and stuff like that, and why it's such a poor country is more important. They're in the media now. Like on Twitter, I follow like CNN and like just BBC and all of those news sources. And every once in a while, like I'll catch it only because I'm from the country, and it'll catch my eye. Like every month or so, like Bangladesh is in the news, and we're just not aware of it because we're used to American media. But if you look at a global news source, they're always talking about somebody getting killed, somebody over political things, over news reporters too.
A lot more negative things you think in the media over here about that country?
There's nothing in the media in the United States right now about Bangladesh. It's you'd have to go to like a BBC or an Al Jazeera, so more of an international news source.
Got you. So, one of the things we also spoke about in the classes was about stereotypes. So, do you know any? What's a stereotype you know about?
The number, I guess two that I grew up with were that Bengalis eat a lot of fish because we can't like afford anything else, and that we're not good looking.
Well, you know the second was not true, but do you really like fish? Is that your favorite food? What's your favorite food?
I used to. Apparently, when I was little, I used to go to people's houses and like if they had like food out, I'd ask my mom where the fish was.
I mean, the class is based on media, but I'm sure they're gonna appreciate this fish conversation as well if they ever should plan the trip there, figure it out. We had to talk about religion in the media. Um, from my research, you know, I see that Bengali is a very more religious type of culture, like Islamic, you know. So, what do you have to say about religion there and how it may actually relate to the media there? Because you spoke about how necessarily the poverty are not really looking to all that kind of things, but also they're not really trying to do that kind of thing because they don't really want to put out anything risque or promiscuous because of their religion. You think that's like a thing over there?
Um, Kind of. Like I said before, like to save money, a lot of Bengali media is dependent on India. So, for example, a lot of advertisements, they're actually from India. So they're filmed, shot, paid for everything in India, and they just bring them over to Bangladesh and they overwrite the audio, so it's in our language.
Oh, so you guys are just kind of taking a little. When it comes to media, how successful do you think I would be in getting the dab popular over there if I started now?
I think you would do it.
I could do it?
Yeah, you have to do it.
I have to do it traditionally though.
No, like
respectfully.
you can. I think you could do it. Like I definitely see like little kids in the village like running around and doing it.
And calling themselves Winston.
Maybe, yeah.
You know what? This has been a fantastic interview. So, in summation, I just want to focus on the actual, just retouch on those key themes that we had brought up before about popular culture and the media industries, and just talking about Asian culture in general, not necessarily Bangladesh, is actually a huge influence on the American media, hence the presence of anime, a lot of the video games, a lot of the shows that many kids grow up watching. I know I'm an avid Pokemon fan, Asian show, things like that. So, Asian culture really is globalized. It really does impact around the world, and it's kind of really dope to focus in on that concept and get to study it. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do it with this class, with Professor, and the rest of my classmates through our comments and through the post on the WordPress. So, thank you for your time, and I hope to see you with an A.